Hey y'all, Gen X Dad Vice here. Um, wow, this ain't the normal setup, which isn't set up yet, but this ain't the normal setup. What the hell? Alright, so where we're at now, this is the inside of my 20-foot car hauler, enclosed trailer. I used to haul cars around for people. If I'm not doing that, it makes a great storage shed. It just sucks to have to move everything out whenever I get ready to haul a car for someone. But that's what it is. Anywho, here's the tour. There's the man door. So when I got a car in here, I can open it up, still get to the front. There's all my straps. The big ass jack I had to buy for it. My spare tire. Some tools that I left. My little cheap winch that works amazingly well for being Harbor Freight. And it's an ATV winch. But let's see if we can get to where we set this up at. It's pretty neat. It's mounted on a receiver hitch, so I can take it out of the trailer quick, fast, and in a hurry, and I can put it on the back of my truck if I need to. So we see all these cables that I made for it. Here's kind of the thing I want to show you guys. So I have that cable right there. Actually, you can see it goes through the floor over there underneath those straps, runs out to the tongue, and I have another plug like that on the back of my truck that I can use to run power from the truck when I have that cable attached, which is this cable right over here underneath the chain in the trash corner apparently. And yeah, I leave the cable out. No, I'm gonna have to go here in a couple weekends, pick up another car and bring it back, so it's easier to just leave it out. So there it is. There's the end I connect to the battery. And cable, along with the ground right here, which is going to get connected to the frame of the truck. And I can run power out to the back of my truck, so I can run that winch on the back of it. Right now what I'm running is a 2024 Ram 2500. I was using a 1500, and when I traded that 15, I got the 2500 because it's a better truck with more towing capacity. It's got the diesel in it. Does way better on fuel mileage with the trailer than what that Hemi did. The Hemi pulled good, but it was hard on it, like rough on it, man. I've run over so many mountains at $5,000, so many miles at $5,000 on that engine. It's like, I mean, it's a good truck. Whoever got it from the dealership got a good truck, low mileage. It's only like 79, 80,000 miles, something like that. But, yeah. It can't do what I need it to do for the rest of its life. It's going to die soon if it does. So get rid of it before we croak it out for someone else, and we'll go from there. So other features on the trailer, I installed a light. I'll show you how this works here in a second. So my battery's still hooked up. Cool. I love a good electrical fire. We have this right here. I didn't put a switch on it. If I want to, and let me turn that off because this is going to blind the camera. If we want to, we just pull it down. It's got a little magnet right there to stick to any metal part of the trailer. Just like that. And then if I'm working at night or in the dark, I just need more light. Boom. And I got the cool two little coiled cords that I can stretch just about anywhere I need to. And right now it's just hooked up to the main power cables on the winch through that box right there where I have all my cabling and tools and stuff. But I'm gonna end up changing that around. It's gonna stay connected to the power cables on the winch that are always fed power, but I need to redo it. So there's the shelves. I started with the post in the corner, and then had a friend of mine, he needed brakes changed on his daughter's car, so I told him he'd finish up those shelves, I'd do his brakes, and that's how we got that done. With the strap hanger, just took a piece of plywood, screwed those D-hooks on there, and a piece of that channel lock tie down stuff, put the hooks in there. And then for my jack, I built that little thing that's screwed to the floor, runs through the handle on the jack, so it's not rolling around in here all on its own while I'm driving. So yeah, anywho, we're gonna hop out, measure this cable up against the side of the truck, and see how that works for getting it all in there. Too easy, right? I'll be back. Well, that was annoying just because I shut my camera down. It cleaned out that video and I couldn't just pause it and come back to it. But here it is. You guys are going to hear the ducks in the background. I got 2 ducks. They're cute. Hang on. So the little black Pomeranian there, that's Darkwing. And then under the deck wagging his tail, we have Flippers. So yeah, don't mind them. Then, you know, crazy smelly Shar-Pei right there on the porch. But this is the cable up against the truck. So you can see there's the truck and the cable back bumper about where I want it to come out. And we should have plenty left over at the front. Now the reason we need some left over is because the battery's going to be somewhere under that hood. It's going to have to drop down, run along the frame of the truck, get up over this axle, all being held on by zip ties and some wire loom, and then come up right here at the bumper. See, there's the cord that I got running inside to the winch. So it's all measured up. We're all good, I think. So I'll be back when it's mounting time. Alright, so what we're looking at here is the battery that we're going to hook this thing up to. Now, being a diesel, it does have 2. There's another one over there, but there's also all the hot exhaust over there. I kind of want to keep it away from that. The reason diesels have 2 batteries, in case you're asking, is diesels are high compression ratioed engines, and it takes a high torque starter to really turn these things over enough to start. And so what they do is put 2 batteries on there, running, I believe, parallel, and we still got 12 volts, but we get way more cranking amps out of it. If they ran it in series, which is positive to negative, blah blah blah, then we get 24 volts, but the same amperage. It's weird how that works, but you know, that's the cool thing about circuits. Another funny thing a lot of people don't know is that ground cable is going to be connected to the frame somewhere. And then everything inside of here, you'll have some that are isolated to the battery, but a whole lot of things inside these have a power wire running through your fuse box or a relay box. And it's weird how it works, but the power runs from negative to positive. So what happens is basically your car or truck or whatever you have is going to be more or less electrified, and then the power goes to that and it gets returned through what we call the power wire or the positive. It's kind of weird how it works, but in DC systems at least, power flows from negative to positive because it's about how they share electrons. Cool, crazy fun stuff, which is the negative charge of an atom. Crazy easy fun stuff, right? Speaking of the cables, how did I measure out enough cable for this thing? So what I started with when I had that 1500 was I found a battery, put a rope up here, just a piece of rope, ran it down through underneath the truck and ran it the length of where I wanted it to go, and then measured the rope once I was done. That's how I came up with this should be enough cable to make this work. This truck and the other truck have pretty much the same body, cab, and bed, just this one's got a heavier suspension and drivetrain, so we should be good on that. Anywho, what I'm going to try to do, it's got this bus bar, all this right here is connected to the positive, so what I'm going to try to do is find a nut that'll fit that, and just try to use this empty spot here. And we want to keep that cable away from moving parts. So first thing we're going to do is follow those cables down there, see where the brake lines are running, and just kind of follow that, because those have to stay away from moving parts as well. We're not going to attach it to those lines, but at least to the same mounting points or something close by. Crazy easy fun stuff, right? Alright, well, let's get the conduit on this cable, feed it up underneath the fender there, and see how it goes. Alright, so we're going to put this loom on here, or I keep calling it loom, it's conduit. I would say I don't know why, but I do know why. It's because when I was growing up and I was a kid and everybody had to put this on, they said wiring loom. It's conduit, it's protective material, that's all. So, I ordered this crap off of Amazon. It's really easy to do. So we have a little boat motor looking thing, right? Little chip clip here. Get that fucker. So what we want to do, have a wire coming in, conduit coming in, and they all come out as one. So what we're going to do is we're going to stretch or clip that thing over our wire stove. Get this started. You know what it is? Pull it through. I said pull it through. Why are we pulling it through? So they're just walking the length of the cable? So I don't have a camera person to help me out with this. So, also don't have a GoPro. God, I got way too far ahead of myself. And then this thing came apart. Oh, this is so cool. Luckily they sent two. Right. Shit. See, this is why things like this is handy, because just stretching this conduit over shit ain't necessarily easy. Somebody came up with a really good way to do it. It'd just be cooler if it works better and went a little faster. So I got, I think it's 25, 27 feet of cable, 60 feet of conduit. And so once we get to the end of the cable, that's when we're going to cut the conduit. And as we wait, always we got to make sure we have enough. Second, we kind of want it to go out past the end of the cable a little bit to start with. And hopefully it's going to help protect our connection. That's why that thing came off. Yeah, I should use shrink wrap on that, but you know, there's days where I'm kind of whatever. Boom, in there. Done, son. Alright, so we got our conduit on. It's trimmed off except for that one little spot that's going to get hooked up to the battery. Next up, we have route planning, and yep, we're going to start from the back and go forward just like a colonoscopy. So, let's see some of the things we're going to look at for route planning. So remember what I said, we got to keep it away from all the moving parts, which means I can't attach it to any of our sway bar stuff, torsion bar stuff. So what I'm thinking is, there's a cable here, that's a bunch of electrical wires, so we can zip tie it to this. And then we're going to go up here to, this is a vent tube for the rear end, because you know, as those gears turn, they're going to churn up air inside that grease, and it would leak out if they just didn't have that vent tube. So they put the vent tube up there, and then as air bubbles pop, they vent through up there. But I can zip tie it to this. I just need to make sure it stays away from that spring, or I can try to run it. This cable goes up under that cross member for the frame. We can try to get it up over that. But that's also why we're starting from the back and going forward. Because if we started from the front, we'd have to try to get that big old plastic connector through all this, or just completely take it apart. And I'm not about all that work. That shit, no. And then we see other cables over through there. We're just going to try to keep all those electrical things together with zip ties and stuff. Once we get away from the rear end, we'll try to run it down that body channel you see just past that other torsion bar. Like right there. Yeah, up through that one. Can't attach to that torsion bar. It moves. Yeah, ever so slightly, but it moves. Anywho, I'm gonna hang up, get this shit done, and then we'll come back and take a look at it afterwards, yeah? Cool beans. Okay, well, this is less than desirable. That thing corroded, and the cable broke because of all that corrosion. So, I have another one right there. Y'all gonna get a little, y'all gonna get to learn how to put these connectors together too. But it's pretty simple. They come with these lugs that I'm apparently gonna have to find. But then they just snap in. And if you look in there real close, you can see a little piece of flat spring in there. They hit that, then that's how they keep from getting pulled back out. So all you have to do is push that spring down, little flat spring, and you can pull that connector back out, which I might have to do to try to save this lug. I'm not sure yet, but we're gonna figure it out. Once I get something figured out, I'll walk y'all through how we do this. Okay, love you, bye. All right, folks, here's where we're at. I figured out what size cable that was. I ordered some butt connectors in case I need to splice some in, because I still have some of that left over. I think I ordered 30 feet and only used 25, I think is what it was. A little over, maybe. Some shrink wrap and connector cleaner dielectric grease. That's mostly for the trailer connector. Plugs into the truck, but if you could translate that, please let me know. I'm never sure when I'm speaking in tongues, you know. And what was his name? Kevin Fowler? Yeah, at the Church of Hank Williams, because you know the Lord loves the drinking man. Anywho, as soon as all this stuff comes in, it's probably gonna be next weekend. I'll show y'all how to fix some electrical stuff. You're gonna talk to a lot of old school mechanics, maybe even some of the newer mechanics, and they're gonna tell you, fucking hate electrical. Dude, it's easy. You just gotta relax and do it, right? Can't get stressed out, bummed out, freaked out, tweaked out. No. Just relax, do the work, and it actually goes pretty smooth. But don't worry. I'll get you through it. We're gonna show you how to run some of these bigger cables for some of these bigger jobs. Rewiring, not sure about. I do know you can get with Wired Customs if he's still on. He can show you a lot how to actually rewire a car. We're just doing single purpose wire and routing it. So, you know, it's not too in depth, but we're going to be good. We're going to get through this. I'm going to fix this damn trailer and truck and shit. I can feel the cramp coming on. There was no need for all the theatrics. Okay, love you, bye. Alright, so here's the thing. Is for the most part, we have that cable ran from the battery to the back. And so I know it's hard to see, but here's the thing, we have that left over. And either I can drop the spare and get this thing mounted up, or you know, Babe the big blue ram here can keep giving everybody the red rocket like your first best friend. So yeah, so we're going to drop that spare and tuck that thing in for now, because like I said, we have to wait a week to get parts and see what we're gonna do with that wire. All right, cool beans. K, love you, bye. We'll see y'all later. All right, y'all. Jennings Device here, working on that 2500 again with that winch cable. So I finally got my stuff, so we're gonna finish this up. Yep. So let's take a look at what we're gonna do here. So we have this end. This is the one that got so corroded it broke. See how bad that crap is. We're gonna cut it back. Hopefully at some point we'll be able to save it. Not sure. If not, I'll have to order a new one, and then we'll go from there. Let's see if we can't get this fixed. That looks like dirty butt too. So I'm trying to fix that. Then we're gonna attach the bit that I have left using those butt connectors right there. Try to get this thing cleaned up, put back on, and working for a good while, yeah. So anywho, I'll be back in a little bit when we get everything set up and ready to go and figure out what we're gonna do here. Okay, love you, bye. Alright, yo, so here's the deal we got for the most part. Some things prepped and ready. Let me show you what we're about to do. So there we have the two ends. There's our butt connector we're going to use. Crimp them together. And there's our crimp. Because, you know, you can't use shit like this on one aught. And then we have the hammer. That's what that's for. So let's see how we get this done. Take a wire, slide a butt connector over it. Slide the other piece of our wire into the butt connector. The way this works is we're going to lift it up, drop it on there, pound on it with a hammer, and it's going to crimp this thing all together for us. That side. Bam. I know, it's ugly. Alright, yeah, sorry about that. Got a call from my brother, so had to answer that. Anywho, we got a little torch over there. We're going to heat up that shrink wrap, close this thing up. Very, very important thing about this shrink wrap is you want to get it hot, but you don't want to cook it. So you gotta stay away from it pretty good. And we have another one. Just make sure we're good. So warm. All right, so we got that good. That's taken care of. Now we're going to put that new lug on that cable. So, yep, already prepped the wire here. Ah, I missed. Bam. Something I want y'all to listen to on this. Did y'all hear that? So what that means is these, once we shrink this down, they're gonna release something that seals that, so we won't be able to have things get in there and mess it all up. Cool beans too easy, right? Watch out for that big belly hitting the tripod. So there it is. You can see the sealant came out just like we hoped it would. Hope that'll keep getting from weather and nasty stuff in there. And then we won't have as much corrosion. Crazy, easy, fun stuff. Cool beans. Next up, connector. Alright, so here's our connector. There's our nasty lug we need to get out of there. We're looking there I think I've already covered this. You sit good on this one. You have that little flat spring in there. So what we got to do is take a little tiny screwdriver, push that little flat spring down, grab that lug with a pair of pliers, and we're going to yoink that thing right out of there. Watch this not go all the way I want it to as well, for reasons. Yep. I went and got a tinier screwdriver. Cool. Different way to use it. I got more of these. So I'm gonna go snatch that up. I'll be right back. Ta-da! New one. Alright. So here's the fun thing. That going on a plug that we're gonna connect and disconnect consistently or constantly. We're gonna solder that thing in there because I like to have a little bit more solid connection than just that crimp, hoping we don't pull it off. So let me get the wire prepped, and then I'll come back and show you how all that works. All right, so you can see while I had it paused, I took the lug out of the vise. Now we have the wire in the vise. And so it's very, very important when you're soldering wires. There's a process called tinning. That's where you coat that wire with solder before you try to make a connection. It does a couple things. One, keeps the wire nice and round. You don't have all those little spots poking out of the lug and everything. And two, it really, really helps with the connection. All you have to do is get it hot, pull the heat away, and it's pretty much going to stick. You don't have to sit there and just keep feeding it solder all the damn time. So, yeah, we're going to get that started here in a second. And so soldering doesn't work on dirty stuff, and since, you know, I run my dirty fingers all over that thing, we have to clean it first. For that we use flux. So what that is, basically, it's an acid that's kind of like heat activated. When we hit it with the heat, we're going to see that melt. Then as the wire heats up, we should have be able to make our connection. That was way too much. I don't know if this gun's going to get hot enough either. I don't want to use the torch. So use a torch, we're gonna burn the shit out of some insulation. This is gonna hurt. Yeah, I've already flexed it. Damn it. It wants the torch. BRB. We're gonna cut that shit and try it again. Alright, so we're gonna try to reposition this. Try to keep the torch a little bit further away so we can just heat it up instead of, you know, cooking the wires like what just happened. Let's try this again. This shit's looking like it just ain't getting clean enough. I don't know. We're gonna figure something out though. Alright, so here we go. There's this thing that I ended up having to crimp it. You can see there how it's crimped. I figured out, I think it's aluminum wire with just a thin copper coating or coloring on top. And aluminum is just, can't solder that shit like normal stuff. So I ended up crimping it, 2 pieces of shrink wrap just like I did the other one. Hopefully that'll hold together through all that. Now we got to put conduit on this other piece. We're going to put it way back here with the split on the other side. Try to keep this a little bit better protected. Then, all right, so here we go. We have our lugs, right? If we notice, as this weird little kind of lip right there. And I pointed these out already, these little spring tabs. So we want to make sure that lip is able to engage with that spring tab, and that's what keeps it from coming unplugged every time we plug it in. So we make sure we got positive on the positive. And, yep, I done messed that up. And the negative on the negative. Boom. Oh, not enough room. Might have to trim some of that back. I don't know. I hope not. That's the weatherproof stuff. Anyways, I'm gonna fight with this off camera. Alright, so got all that crap cut off. Now we got our single piece of weatherproof. Let's try this again. That lip facing that flat tab. We heard that click. Now we're good. Now we just got to figure out what we're going to do with the rest of this cable, which shouldn't be too bad, because we climb up under it. Why the hell did I? We climb up under it. We can see there's plenty of places we can zip tie it to, or we can just loop it back on itself and zip tie a small loop into it, so it's going to be fine. It shouldn't be an issue. If it is, I got full coverage. I have to get that cable up through all this stuff, and I changed my mind about where I was mounting it here on this bus bar. Because if we look at these two spots, these are actually separated, and this is a 250 amp fuse. But I don't want my battery or my winch to be limited to 250 amps. I don't know if it can actually operate the way I need it to, and I don't want to blow this thing out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook it directly to the battery here on this lug. So I need to get it up here by way of running it through there. Now it's a flimsy cable. I can't just push it up through there and it's going to work the way I need it to. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece of stiffer wire. We kind of already have a hook on there, and we're going to slip this down through here like so, more or less where I want it to go. Now once I get it up to about here, I can feed it wherever I need it to go. I just need this thing to get down there and be able to grab that wire. So I'm going to do that. Hang out just for a second. Let me go grab my tripod and we'll try to get this set up to where y'all can see what I'm doing. So that's the best I can get it set up. Y'all saw where I went with it to begin with. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep feeding it down, feeding it over there to make sure it stays in place. And we're going to sneak in from the bottom, connect that hook to our lug, and we're going to pull it straight up. So there's where the cable stopped. I was able to get the lug looped through there and kind of hooked around. So now all I have to do is go to the top, pull this thing through, kind of, I'm going to have to shake it and jiggle it and all kinds of weird stuff, but that's how we're going to get that up where we need it to be, and then we're going to zip tie it in place. I'll show you all that here in a second. Alright, so we got this ready to pull this cable up. So we grab the wire, just kind of pull it up. Oh, look at that thing, that's pretty. Yep, make old man noises. Actually, once you hit a certain age, they're practically essential. Pull this up. We're not going to put it on there because we don't actually want to make that connection yet. So I'm just going to put it in a spot where it can stay until we get a zip tie on where we need it. I'll be right back. Alright, so I don't know if we noticed that thing moving this cable, but it's currently on top of it somehow at some point. So what we're going to do is let this back and doesn't get in the way of anything. I'm going to grab my little hook back. What's going to happen? So that's what we're going to do then. We need the hook. Alright, so we'll go ahead and set back up. Go ahead and see if we can tug it up, see what happens. Yeah, we'll do this like random plate. Cut on something. Let me take a look. Hopefully we did, man. Brake line's moving and it came in good. Nice. Well, that's annoying. Okay, I think I have it ran. It took a whole lot of pain and stress and losing my temper and throwing things. And in a second, I'm going to show you exactly where it's running from. But one thing I want to try to do is get it through this little stretchy rubber piece. But it's probably going to break. Or I'm going to mess my cable up in the other. Just take that off, but I'm not done. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this up right here, zip tie it right there, feed it off to the side, put this thing back where it needs to be. So we know we have, we zip tie it right here, we know we have enough. So that's what we're going to do. And then I got these crappy little zip ties. Man, those things, I don't know what they did with the new zip ties, but they are absolute garbage. Complete junk. But here's what we did. You see the conduit there. We just kind of fed it up and around through all that stuff to where we're no longer on that little brake fluid sensor cable, and it's still out of the way for the most part of that steering sector or steering shaft. But I'm gonna get down there, pull that, make sure and verify all that good stuff. But don't worry, here in a second we're gonna see what's going on. Alright, so here's what I was talking about when I said zip tie it through the cable mounts, but not to the cable mounts. So it goes through it from here to there. And that'll hold it up, but the cable movement shouldn't affect that pretty much at all, because this is just a casing for the actual cable. So we should be good. We just go ahead and tighten this little thing up a little bit. We're not gonna make it like extremely tight because, you know, it's okay if it flexes a little bit, especially plastic on plastic, and it still has to get through the insulation. So it's gonna be okay if it flexes a little bit. But what they need to do is make sure that it is at least secure. Which is hard to do with these crappy zip ties they're selling nowadays. Anyhow, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep figuring this out. So there's our next mounting point. And it was just a weird little tab. It was exactly like that. I have no idea what that plate's covering up, except for in the 1500s they had those ram boxes. Not ram boxes, but they had those in the floor boxes that you could store stuff in, and I used to use them on my my 15 all the time. And that's probably covering that up. And that's because, like I said earlier, the bodies and the beds and everything are exact same. Like stamped out of the same stuff in the same plant. But what's different is the drivetrain and suspension between a 15 and a 2500. So that's where that box in the floorboard would go. And yeah, we just kind of tucked it in over this. And if it falls, hopefully it's not going to hang very low, but if it does, it does. That's okay. It's not going to be nothing serious. But that's what that is, and we're just going to keep working our way back until we got this thing as securely fastened as we can, considering what we have to work with today. And then we get ready to finish it out, I'll let you guys know. Yep, we're probably going to mount it to that body mount right there. That's where we left off. There's the next mounting point, and that's a body mount. That's not going to move. It's according to suspension and sprung stuff. And we go up here, and we have it mounted to this support rod for the front part of the rear quarter, or the front part of the wheel well. That's good. That'll hold it. I wish that I had a better spot. I probably could have looked for one, but it's been all day. I'm under tired and shit. There it is from the top side. And there it is, mounted once again to the body. And like I said, the body and the frame bolted together, so we don't have to worry about suspension travel or, like I was saying, with moving parts. Then we tucked it in under the frame. I may or may not put a zip tie here. I don't think there's absolutely a need for one. So we're just going to wait and see what happens with it once we get back underneath it, which we're going to do right now so we can look at it and figure out the rest of our route plan. Like I was saying, I kind of want to zip tie to that bundle of cables right there, but also want to drop this spare wheel and tire and then run it so that it goes all the way across the other side of my hitch right there, because that's actually the side that the trailer connector is on. So I should probably start looking to do that. And then if I have that butt connector, it'll be up under there, hopefully protected by the spare wheel and the shrink wrap that I ordered. And then I don't have to worry about it being in the way of all that nasty road stuff that happens. Because I think that's what happened with the other one. I'm in Virginia. We use a lot of salt and shit up here. And I think that's where a lot of that corrosion came from. Anyway, that's where we're at. We're going to leave it for this evening. And then I'll do another one as I'm finishing it. So, alright, y'all. So, here it is. We finally got it back to the back. Pretty much the same route I took last time, so there's no need to redo that. We got the spare tire dropped. We're going to run it over the spare tire to the passenger side of the truck, because that's where that cable is. Hang on just a second. And if we look at these two cross members here, we have cabling up above that Ram has to protect. So we have these cross members, and we know that tire will not get above, that spare right there, will not get above those cross members, so we won't have to worry. We can run it all through there, zip tie it really good to those cables, drop it down the other side there, and we won't have to worry about that tire rubbing our insulation and our conduit into it and grounding out and burning my truck down. So that's where we're at with that. I'll come back when we get ready to put that connector back on. See y'all in a little bit. Alright, so there it is. We ran it through, zip tied to that cable right there, back to the outside of the frame. There's our ground. I can't see where pointing the damn camera at this point. There's our ground we mounted to the bumper mount right there. There's our cable end sticking out. I suppose I should have waited to put that lug on there, measured it out and got it closer, but that's alright. There's a fix for that. I'll show you that here in a minute. Basically, he says those two cables ain't going to be the same length, but that's fine. So, we're going to grab the connector, set some shit up, and then get that done. Alright, so we got our cable built. It's mounted. It's not hooked up to the battery yet, but we're going to get there. I want to get everything set up first before we do that. So that way when we hook it up, we'll instantly be able to tell whether or not we have an issue by whether or not it starts smoking. But let's go over some things about how we're going to keep this plug protected. And it's kind of a pain to just plug in and unplug. It's really kind of rough. Like, it's hard to do. I noticed that last time. But there's ways we can fix that. Now, we're going to cover that here in just a second. Let's see what we have for this. Alright. So we have our dielectric grease. We're not going to use this. This is really good for connectors that need to be sealed. And we can't seal this connector because it's open in the back. And it has a whole bunch of other places where stuff can get in there. This is more for like spark plug boots, oxygen sensor connectors, headlight connectors, light bulb connectors, things like that. So we can't really use this. I mean, we could, but we're not gonna, because it'll just be all gooped up on there. Next we have white lithium grease, which I did this as soon as I got that thing on there. I was drunk as shit, went ham. I started hosing it down, but if we read this, it says for metal to metal lubrication. And it contains petroleum distillates, which is very, very bad for plastics. Eventually it will degrade that plastic, and it will end up having to replace the connectors just because the plastic was all messed up and brittle or some weird stuff like that. So we need a lubrication that works for plastic. So we have this. This is what we're going to use. And we read this: for use on rubber, wood, plastic, vinyl, metal, and painted surfaces. So, yeah, cool beans. We're good to use this on the plastic. However, everything we've looked at so far is non-conductive and could reduce the amount of current we have flowing to the winch. Most greases are non-conductive and will reduce the amount of current you're trying to get to where you need it to go, to your load, which I sort of kind of explained load earlier. Here's what it is. Your load is whatever device or devices that are doing the work that you set that electrical circuit up for. If it's a light circuit, the light bulb is the load. If it's the motor, like on that electric winch, the motor is the load. If it's multiple things, you can have multiple loads. That's too easy. So that's what a load is. And you don't, once you have your circuit set up, you want that current getting to your load just to be available if needed. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint those connectors or those lugs inside that connector with this stuff. Carbon conductive grease. This stuff is expensive and you really don't need to use it all the time everywhere. But like I said, that plug to unplug and plug back in it takes some muscle, right? Like, no, I want this to go smoother and easier, so we're going to do that. The problem is, it's conductive grease. If you're not careful, if you just glob it in there and it bridges between those two contacts, now we have a short circuit. And what we don't want is like this stuff to start heating up, create a short circuit, start heating up, and then we have, the truck and the trailer burned down on the side of the road. So we have to be very careful for this. What we're going to use to make sure we get it in there without getting it all over the place is Q-tips. We're going to coat some on a Q-tip, stick it down inside that connector, and just coat just that lug with it. And then it should be fairly easy to plug in and unplug after that. along with this to keep the plastic from sticking together, we should be good to go. So I'm going to take the camera outside, set the tripod up, get all this done. It's kind of breezy outside, so I'm not sure what the sound quality is going to be like. And, you know, definitely you're going to hear flippers and Darkwing going at it. Well, not going at it, but they'll be out there quacking all over the place. That's just what they do. Quack, 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 quack. Ooh, better not say that too loud. They'll come into the garage. Anywho, see y'all in a minute. Alright, so it seems like the wind may have calmed down. Either way. So this right here, this is maybe a little bit up in there. This is the parts we need to coat with the silicone. And then we're going to do the shed nectar portion, the lugs in there, with the conductive grease. Crazy easy fun stuff, right? So we have handy dandy little straw on there, so we can just like sniper that shit on there. And of course we got it on there anyways, but it's conductive, it'll be fine. That last drop always runs down your leg, don't it? So next, we'll clean these as best we can with just the clean Q-tip. Ta-da! There's that run. Shouldn't take a lot. And all that, yeah, just got it again. All that excess stuff we're gonna wipe off. I didn't bring anything to do that with yet, so good to use the Q-tips. So we get all this excess crap out of here. This stuff is really kind of hard to get off because of the carbon. Carbon powder sticks to every damn thing. Like that spot will be there. That spot will be there for weeks. Yeah, even gooder. So there's that. We're gonna do the other side on the trailer there, and we'll see how easy it works, or how well it helps. Alright, so we got the trailer side done. Ta-da! Money. Oh no! Too much. That's a lot of it has to do with I wasn't familiar with this stuff from before, and I just kind of globbed it on. And it turns out it was way too much. So every time we plug it in and then unplug it, we're gonna have to clean that off, which for that slick plastic should be fairly easy. And if I need to, I can hit it with some like electrical connector cleaner, or soak a rag with some electrical connector cleaner and wipe it off with that, so I don't have to so I don't wash all the stuff out of there that I put on. But let's hop up in the trailer. It's way easier than it was before. Let's hop up in the trailer where I haven't treated any of these connectors yet, and I'll show you. Right, so here's the rig in the trailer. Remember I was talking about I was going to need to replace these or run them a better way? That's why I've already cut the crap out of it, just letting that box lid fall on it. As you can see, I have not treated these in any way whatsoever. Oh, Larry, you're not working like that. So, yeah, let me see how much more difficult that is. I know it didn't look like it, but that's because I am strong like oaks. This is the one from outside, running from the truck. This is the one going to the winch inside my little electrical box here. This is one that I made so I can hook a battery to it in case I don't have my truck or someone else needs to borrow it, or I'm using a different truck, you know, just stuff like that. Anywho, that's it. That's how it works. If you have any questions, comments, complaints, or concerns, you can drop them in the comments or genxdevice@gmail.com. If it's constructive criticism or other ideas, you know, I'll listen to it. Maybe even publish it, I don't know, if you're okay with it. If it's just you talking about how that's not how your uncle did it or someone else showed you how to do it, then cool beans. If you don't, yeah, like I said, constructive criticism. You're just over there to tell me how I did it wrong. I'm happy you don't like the way I did it, but cool.